All right. I'm going to click broadcast and bring everyone in. All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Monday after Father's Day, June 22nd. My name is PJ Prunty. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Danbury Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon on our chamber chat. I'm excited to be hosting the infamous Lou Milano, the co-host of the Ethan and Lou Show from I-95. Lou, first off, how are you doing? How's the family? How was your Father's Day?
I'm doing great. I'm trying to stop myself from watching us.
You can't stop, right?
Happy Father's Day, man.
Yeah, as happy belated Father's Day to you as well. How was your weekend?
Weekend was great. We got out for our anniversary on Friday night. We were eating local. We went to Los Andes in Danbury, and then we hit up a couple spots in Bethel. We went to I can't remember the name. I keep calling it J. Peterman.
J. Lawrence downtown?
Yes. Yeah, we went to J. Lawrence, and then we went to the Note. So we were kind of hopping around. Erica wanted to have a drink and a snack everywhere.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just glad I got to be on
anniversary as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I got to be on with you prior to being on Mark's show tonight, so I can get in with you before him, so I can spend all the entire time at Live on 5 making fun of him about
it. So you're going on there tonight?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff. It's funny. I was just thinking about as I was bringing you on the show. We first met. It's back right when I started at City Center. We had you guys come in. You did your annual show from downtown Danbury, leading up to the Taste of Greater Danbury. And I remember being so nervous coming on with you and Ethan, because it was just. And don't take this like in the wrong way, but you're so intimidating to you because you're so seasoned, so professional, and I'm like, how am I going to do this interview with these guys? But it was a great experience. You guys were super, natural. Made me laugh, and kind of it was a good experience. Remember that? You remember that time when you guys?
I do. I don't remember you being nervous at all, and I don't know about the professionalism, but or the seasoning for that matter. But we always had fun down at the City Center broadcast. Right. That was a good time.
And then I feel like it wasn't even a year later. We were at one of our mutual friends' wedding, and it was the most bizarre thing. I didn't know you were going down there, and all of a sudden we were like at the wedding. I'm like, that's Lou Milano. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go.
Remember a wedding in North Carolina. By wedding day, because I don't know how much you remember. I don't remember quite a lot of Friday and Saturday night. By wedding day, I was tuckered out, man. I had it.
Yeah, I think you bailed early or something. I remember you on the dance floor, and you were like, I'm out. So
I was a little partied out.
Excellent. All right, so let's dive right into it. Let's talk about yourself in Town Square. How has COVID-19 changed your approach to the Ethan and Lou Show, if it has even changed at all?
Well, initially, everything was about getting relevant local information out, right, as quickly as possible, and trying to keep it as accurate as possible. And that was more difficult than we thought it was going to be, because the truth was changing on a day-to-day basis. And now it's become kind of this balancing act between what we do on air versus what we do digitally.
Sure.
Because the digital audience, whether it's for our website, i95rock.com, or our Facebook page, they're still craving that information, whereas the radio audience is kind of had it up to here, and there's so many different sources to get that, and they're looking for a distraction and some entertainment. So I think very recently we've struck that balance. But when we have certain guests on, like Mayor Mark, it's inevitable that you're going to have to hit some of those bullet points on the air.
Of course. Makes sense. So let's talk about Town Square specifically. How has COVID-19 impacted the business? And what type of changes have you guys had to make in the studio and adjustments?
Well, Town Square in terms of changes from COVID-19, like anybody else, any industry, we got hit hard financially. Everybody did. But the good thing about our team is that very adaptable. Right. And a lot of that goes back to what I was saying earlier about we have the digital platform, we have the broadcast platform. It's just a diversified product that allows us to kind of, find, we found clients that were, due to the conditions, actually performing better, right, in certain segments of business. And then we have different ways to cater to the needs of folks who aren't doing as well during the crisis. So I think that diversification really kind of helped the company out in a big way. And the team is so strong.
Yeah. We actually had, I think we had Shannon on a couple of weeks ago about the importance of continuing to market in a pandemic, right? Trying to stay relevant. You got to, it's tough, right? Because you're, allocating dollars to important places like payroll and other expenses, but needing to be relevant and top of mind during crises is critical. And she did a great job with a couple other individuals.
Yeah, in the early going, I had people, and we were kind of okay with this in the very early going. It was like people were just saying like, hey, can you let people know this is where we're at, from a business standpoint, individual businesses saying this is what our struggles are. This is what we're able to do right now. This is what we're trying to do to keep people safe. And in the early going, we were doing that on an individual basis, even though they weren't clients. We're just letting people know this is what's going on. And then it became overwhelming. We were inundated with information and kind of had to give that a place, its own section, and our digital team did a good job with that.
So let's talk about some of the changes in terms of the restrictions and social distancing that were put in place. It was probably like mid-March, I feel like, when it's really started being like, okay, the whole stay safe, stay home campaign really launched, which is crazy to think. It doesn't feel like it was, for me, at least personally, like 3 years ago. It just seems so long ago that this started. I don't know, what that means. Attribute that to, but the folks I've had on the chamber chats, I've asked them, what have they missed in the pre-COVID world? Some folks said going out getting cocktails with their coworkers. One person said, going to Yankee games. Obviously, the sporting events are not happening. In the pre-COVID world, what are some of the things that you're missing?
Honestly, and I don't think I will go back to it just for safety purposes, but I miss a handshake. And I miss it because it's my reflex.
Right.
And I find myself so often reaching out to shake a hand and go, oh, I forgot. In fact, I had to have a heart test, like right after this all broke. So I had to go to the hospital, and I remember being mad at the tech, and I won't say, who they were, because I reached out to shake his hand, and he gave me like a disgusted look. So I was on the air the next day complaining about this poor guy, this nameless guy who was just trying to stay safe. So,
right.
From a reflex standpoint, I think it's the handshake, but obviously missing sports, although baseball's not coming back, and I'm tired of those greedy guys. Like I'm I don't know how much I could say here. But
no, you're fine. We're just keep the 4-letter words to a minimum, please.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I've had it with them. I'm just happy to hear that college football has a plan to come back, because I'm a big college football guy. Even though we don't have a Northeast team that's any good, I follow the SEC. So looking forward to getting some sports back, although I don't know how they're going to do it when 5-6 people test positive on a team.
Yeah, Clemson had like 23 people test positive last week.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, listen, if you're an NBA team, 4 guys get it, and that's it. You're done.
That's nuts. I was talking to my wife about that. I'm like, I just don't know. I know that they're doing that whole bubble thing, but I'm just like, it's crazy to think how they're gonna still maintain that. I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah, it's gonna play out before our eyes.
So, I agree with you completely on the handshake component. That's sort of like, in our role in our industry, a chamber, networking. That's what we do, right? We're constantly shaking hands with people, and I read a study, and again, I can't remember what it was. You're just reading so much content. It's like content overload. A lot of these health officials are like, yeah, we're we're never going to shake hands again. I'm like, what? I'm like, how is
Crazy.
that? And just look, you can't blame certain people, right? They want to, be cautious of their health and their well-being.
I hated the fist bump to begin with. This thing I don't like. The fist bump was the worst. I used to make fun of that with my old boss, Mike, constantly with the fist bump. And
Right.
I made fun of him to the point where he actually shook my hand every once in a while. But I guess those days are long gone. We could just nod and go like this,
That little, thing, right? There,
little dance move.
So you're a Danbury resident now, right? You moved here a year, 2 years ago. What was?
No, 4 or 5 years
What?
ago. Yeah.
We
live in the
off
house
this
that
time.
my wife grew up in.
Oh, excellent! I didn't know that you guys moved into their house.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome.
Yeah, you've probably been there.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the businesses in the city. How do you see them sort of navigating this reopening? We're about a little less than a week into phase 2 reopening. What has been your observations thus far in terms of those that have been able to open? Just general feedback. What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to go out to local restaurants as often as possible. I told you earlier, we went out to a couple of them for our anniversary. I got my hair cut the other day over at Legends.
That was a big to-do, a big faux pas you made about
yeah.
Caesar being at Dave's. That was great. People apparently chewed you apart for that one, right?
I got chewed apart for saying that the guy that cuts my hair, Caesar, is at Dave's Barbershop. He's no longer there. He's at Legends. I managed to find him. It was a big social media to do. But they did a great job. We go to Pippa's a lot, and we've gone twice, since the reopening, and we've been outdoors, and they do the distancing thing great. So I've seen people just handle it as best as they possibly can. Everything's clean and good. I haven't run into anything negative, put it that way, at all in Danbury or the greater Danbury area.
Right. That's good. Yeah, I've had similar experiences. I went to Legends as well. June 1st, literally the first day that you could get a haircut. I was like, 10:30 a.m., Dre, because it was getting bad, like real bad.
Did you try a home haircut?
No, I refused. I refused to. My father did his own, and then he did my son's a couple weeks ago, and actually turned out pretty good. But I was like, I'm just gonna wait.
Does your hair curl out? Did you get like a little blowout afro?
Yeah, it was getting there. I mean, back in my earlier years, I call them flowing locks. My friends refer to it as a rat tail, but I think flowing locks is a better way to describe it.
Sure.
So for those that are joining us, if you guys want to submit a question to Lou, make sure it's a really challenging one that's going to make him stumble and
yeah, definitely. I want a challenging one. I want one that I have no idea about. That would be fantastic if you could do it
so
that
if
way.
you guys want to submit one of those, really make him feel uncomfortable. We want to see him sweat. So you've been at 995 for over 20 years, right?
Yep, it's coming up on 21 years and 15 doing the morning show with Ethan.
So, and like I said, you guys are just an incredible dynamic duo. The chemistry you guys have, I think, is really, really, it's tough to find, candidly. I think you guys do a great job. I'm not just trying to, pump you up or anything. You don't need that. Pump yourself up plenty. How long you guys plan on doing this together?
We get that question a lot, and what's funny about it is how, to steal a word from you, candidly, people constantly, they're very direct about this question. It's never when's Ethan going to retire. It's from that angle, but it's never when is Ethan going to retire. It's when is Ethan going to die. Sub question, can I have his job when he does? And he can't, and I of course can understand that he takes great offense to this.
Of course, yeah.
But it blows my mind the things that people will say, to us. And I think it's the nature of the show. I mean,
sure, right.
Years ago, we had Jim Norton on the show for the first time, and radio fans know that name, comedy fans know that name. And Jim was still with Opie and Anthony at the time. And my perception of him, because it was our first time talking to him,
Right.
was that he was just this hideous monster of a human. So I said something horrific to him off the air, like, and direct. And he was like, dude, what are you doing? I don't even know you.
No filter.
So I can understand why people do that, because they have an idea of who you are.
Right.
And they think that you're constantly in like attack mode so that they can do it to you.
Always needing to be on. That's something I always wondered about that role for you guys. So wow, 21 years. That is quite impressive. So let's talk about that time there. So over the last 2 decades plus, how have you seen your role, specifically in the morning show, sort of evolve over time?
I think it's more of an evolution of society that dictates the tone, not the tone of the show, but the individual language used on a show, particularly like ours.
Right.
The jokes are about each other. They're about so many different things. And sometimes they're mean spirited, and sometimes they're awful and of a blue nature. And especially in the last 4 years, we all know how much society has evolved. It's selection of topics and language that is really kind of the tricky game when you do a show of this nature.
Right.
I mean, there are things that we've said to each other, 10, 12 years ago on the air that you don't say now. And the topics are even more important, because you just kind of got to shift off of certain things, or they're either not funny, or you don't even have the ability to make them funny.
Right.
I like talking about, I particularly like talking about, I don't know why, I get all excited whenever a large corporation, whether it's retail, but particularly chain restaurants, has a big promotional idea.
Right.
It's very attackable.
You have an example or something, or?
Yeah, a couple years back, Olive Garden did their never-ending pasta bowl promotion.
Right, sure.
Now you had to buy a raffle ticket for, I forget the amount, let's just say it was $20. And if I remember correctly, they would then choose 500 people. And of those 500 people, they had to then ante up like $300-400. And they got a year's worth of pasta, just as much pasta as you could eat. And we attacked that one pretty good.
As an Italian, that probably enticed you, the years long worth of pasta.
Yeah, but I also always thought it was funny that they would do the commercials like, Grandpa's back from Rome. He's visiting us, and we're taking him to Olive Garden. Really? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, that's great. So it's kind of more of I guess, a follow-up question to the position involved. I always wonder, what's the process like getting ready for a show? I mean, with this very informal chamber chat thing I do, I feel like I spend more time than I thought I would in terms of just prepping. And there's not a whole hell of a lot going on this. It's just that, it's just walking back and forth. What does that process look like? You don't need to give us sort of a play-by-play as to every step, but like, I'm just curious as to what the general approach is for a show each morning.
Yeah, what's funny about the early years of the show is there was no process. It was just go, and that sometimes worked to our benefit, but not all that often. There was some odd choices in the early years. So I want to say about 12 years ago, we started doing what's called the show map. And in it, I list every one of our long segments,
right,
the time period. And then I develop a structure the day before. So there's going to be a guest on the show that's slotted in first. And then we have features like missed headlines. Those are slotted into their time periods. We do a live and local at 6:15. And then it's rounding out the rest of the show. Now, the funny part about the show map and Ethan's frustration with me, and I really think it should be more a frustration with the news cycle, is that today I've slotted in things for tomorrow that I know we're not doing.
Right.
Because the news cycle being what it is, constantly changing minute to minute. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to walk in here. I'm going to turn on my computer, and there's going to be 4 things that are better and more timely than what I had planned the day prior. So he freaks out. He's like, I put it in the promotional announcement. I'm like, maybe you should stop doing that altogether.
Oh boy. What time do you get up in the morning?
Well, I used to get up at like 4:45 to be here, because we got to be on the air technically at 5:30. We run what's called the instant replay, the best of the day before, but we still have to get it on the air and start working towards 6 and 6:15. The minute COVID started, I started getting up at 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning. And then I get here anywhere between 4:15 and 4:45, because there's more to do now than ever.
Right.
I don't know why that is. I can't put my finger on it. There just is.
So what time, how many hours of sleep do you need to get? That just seems.
My wife hates it. I go to bed. So I'm not one of these people that could fall immediately asleep.
Right.
So I'll get in bed some nights 7:30.
Right.
And then I fall asleep at like 8:30. That's a good night.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
What time do you get up?
I get up, well, with the kids now, the younger ones, it varies. It's, sometimes they wake up at 5 a.m., right? And they're up for the day. But other times they might sleep until 7. We're like, wow. But it's so inconsistent in terms of,
yeah.
You remember those days, right?
Yeah. You wake up with leftover spaghetti on your face.
Yep. You know it all too well. So 2-part question here. Who is your favorite guest of all time that you've had on the show? And then who is your favorite sort of regular or reoccurring guest that comes on the Ethan and Lou show?
That's a good question, PJ. I'm glad you asked it. In fact, I'm actually working on an article for tomorrow. Because as I started thinking about this, I thought you might ask this question, and I started thinking, well, maybe I should come up with a list of some of our favorite guests of all time. Would be a good article for the website. We've had some heavy hitters sprinkled out over the years, but our favorite regular guest, that's easy. That's Mayor Mark Boughton.
Of course.
Because he what entertains me most about his segments is that I'm not sure it's benefiting him to be on our show, and yet he does it anyway.
Yep, and that's him. He's got nothing to hide.
And he walks face first into a possible PR nightmare almost every time he's on the show.
Speaking of PR, his PR person is making some comments right now to us.
Oh, cool. Good. There's more to come tonight on Live at 5.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said.
But we've had some heavy hitters. We had Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers, one of my favorite interviews of all time.
Nice.
We had Dick Cavett on the show. Now, he has interviewed John Lennon, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Muhammad Ali. So now the responsibility is now on me to interview arguably the greatest interviewer of all time. Right. And I could not get sleep the night before. And it turned out being pretty good because he was making fun of me about bringing this up during the interview. We also had David Crosby. That interview, one of the 10 interviews we've done with him, has over 188,000 views on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Because we talked about the Melissa Etheridge deal and, what went on there and his beef at the time with Graham Nash. So that one went wide. I called Jeff Daniels an a-hole on the air. That was another favorite. So, yeah, we've had some pretty cool interviews over the time, but the regular guest has got to be Danbury Mayor Mark Boughton or Lisa Lampanelli.
Yeah, Lisa, she came to one of our events, Women's Business Council, about a year and a half ago. She did a great job.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
she's a great lady.
Let's see. Frank just submitted a question. Frank said, I love listening to you guys on my commute to Danbury to Hartford. Are you worried that your listening audience will decrease due to the increase of telecommuting? And how will I-95 potentially pivot their business model if they if this comes to fruition?
Yeah, again, in terms of people that are at home, so we did an early pivot on Facebook. I mean, I realize it's not going to grab back all the numbers of folks who are maybe sleeping in a little bit later because they don't have that commute, and then they're going to get up and work from home. But it's been really effective for us starting Facebook Live videos. We did that almost right away. And I forget whose idea it was here, but they definitely deserve credit, should I be able to remember them. But that got people, as soon as people got wind that we were doing it, it was kind of a behind the scenes. They got to see me editing, certain pieces of audio, and we take them into the kitchen, and Ethan and I argue. We tell stories that you can't hear on the air. Now people are setting their alarms to check it out. And then, of course, we do a lot of post-production. So our digital platform allows us, our website, i95rock.com, and the Facebook page, to take segments from the show and bring them out later on. Bring them out later in the day, later in the week, 2 years from now, In fact, I'm going to be working on another thing, a Throwback Thursday interview segment for our website. And in fact, I'm working on the Andrew Dice Clay one right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the digital platforms that we have allow us to bring new life to things that folks may have missed. But there is going to be a lot of tap dancing and learning as we go. There's going to be a lot of research done into listening habits that we haven't gotten to yet. Well,
just like many other industries out there, that word is, I feel like I've heard it multiple times a day, pivot, right?
Yeah.
And it's not going away. People are going to be needing to get creative over these next couple months and years, for sure. So let's talk about life if you weren't a thriving, successful radio personality. What career would you have seen yourself pursuing, or your alter ego, if you will?
I don't want, this answer is easy for me. I don't want it to sound like I have the ability to do this job because it's not the case. My dream job, other than this one, would be to be a Major League Baseball player or a minor league baseball player, a baseball player that gets paid to play baseball.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
The greatest job in the world.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it is less about the sport and more about the camaraderie and the traditions and the intricacies of the game.
Sure.
I got to play again this past year in the Ridgefield Playhouse charity softball game, the Bernie Williams thing. And like a kid in a candy store, of course, all these great ball players everywhere, Mariano Rivera, Jim Leyritz, Bernie Williams, Darryl Strawberry. And then I'm hanging out on the bench with these minor league players and coaches, and just the way they talk. This is something I can relate to, and the way everybody behaves. And then I get so involved in it. Jim Leyritz is throwing me garbage gyro balls, and he's telling me I'm not going to be able to hit. He's talking trash from the mound.
Right.
So I didn't even wait. As soon as I made contact, and I made really good contact, I start barking at him as I'm running down the first baseline. It was a hard hit ball, but it was just caught in the deep outfield. Right. I didn't think I was out. I'm running around the bases screaming at the guy. So definitely baseball player.
I can so easily see that right now as in my head that you're describing that. Excellent. So anything else you want to share with us today as we wrap it up here?
No, I'll get in some filthy plugs. Yeah. Download the I-95 Rock app for free at Google Play or the App Store right now. You can listen to the Ethan and Lou Show, the radio station, wherever you are in the world. You can read our articles. You can win stuff. You can buy stuff from our merch store. You can chat with the show live during the show. Follow us on Instagram at I-95 Rock. Follow us on Facebook, I-95 WRKI. And then, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, Lou Milano. There you go.
You got that down perfect.
Yeah, I do it, 5 times a day.
Excellent. Lou, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for taking time to hop on the chamber chat with us this afternoon. I hope to see you soon, and maybe who knows? We'll have to see where we're at that point. But and the haircut looks phenomenal too, by the way.
Thanks, man. Yeah, legends. Legends is legend.
Love it. All right, so Wednesday we'll be back chamber chat, bringing on a good friend of mine, Tiante Best. So that'll be at 2 p.m. This Wednesday. Thanks for everyone who joined us this afternoon. I hope everyone stays healthy and stays well. Take care, everyone. See you, Lou. Thanks.
Thanks, man.